All right, here we are. All right, welcome to our TMN Tuesday, the last of our 2025 webinar series. We have some exciting documents to go through today. Before we get started, as always, we want to start all of our TMN Tuesdays with our virtual meeting room etiquette. It's a great way for us to set the base and set the standard for how we're going to interact and participate today. We are going to be recording today's webinar, and we'll have that recording on the website within the day or by the end of the day. I don't know how those things, I need to make those go away here in just a little bit. Can y'all see those pop-ups in the top right-hand corner? Okay, I'll make them go away.
Click out of the screen, they don't show up on the screen. I don't know how to get them to go away when you are clicked into the screen though. So
okay, I'm figuring that out. Thank you so much, Hannah. We'll be using chat function to participate in questions today. We are, like I said, recording this, and it will be available for 1 hour advanced training, either watching it live or as a recording, and it will be posted on that TMN Tuesday page that's linked with that QR code, and link is dropped in the chat. Yep, I'm gonna have to figure that one out. And then Michelle, while I'm figuring that out, you want to give us a quick update on this seminar series?
Yeah, so as with all of our TMN Tuesdays, we have a short voluntary survey. If you could help us remain eligible, by taking the survey, you're helping us to remain eligible for funding that helps pay for events like this. And so you have the QR code there. If you're not watching from a computer and you want to scan using your phone, or if you're watching from here, you can scan using your phone, navigate through the QR code there. Or Hannah has dropped the survey link in the chat for you to navigate to the survey there. So thanks for your participation and helping us to remain eligible for the funding that provides webinars like these for our program.
All right, and then I'm going to let you keep rolling with the topic of the day.
Yes, so super exciting topic today. As many of you know, especially our chapter leadership that is on board with us today, this is one of our crossover events, our TMN Tuesday crossover event. So it's incorporating chapter advisors and presidents meeting also in with our TMN Tuesday. And we've been going through a triennial review of our TMN governing documents over the past 3 years. And so today is just to give you a walkthrough and overview of the changes to the governing documents that govern policy and procedure for our Texas Master Naturalist program overall. All of these documents that we're going to talk about today can be found on our website. And the majority of the documents we're going to be talking about today are kind of what I call above the line documents, which you can see that red circle on the website. All of the documents above the additional operating resources have been updated, and we're going to go over all those today, do a walkthrough with you. And then a couple items below the line have been updated, and we're going to go through those with you as well as the plan for the other documents coming up. So the last time we updated all of our governing documents for the Master Naturalist program was 3 years ago. That too was a very laborious, long, intensive process. It was the biggest, at that time, it was the biggest update we've done to our document probably in the history of the program. And at that time, when we implemented the updated governing documents, we put them on a 3-year cycle for review and update to help alleviate the huge work that goes into these updates. And so we have an irregular cycle now, or implemented a regular cycle. Beginning, that was implemented in 2022. The 3-year cycle started in 2023. So over the past 3 years, we have been collecting updates, suggestions, and feedback from our members in our chapters. This is available to everyone on our website to continue collecting feedback. And we will remain on the 3-year cycle for updating reviewing and updating documents going forward. So this gives you that triennial timeline from both in the last version and then what it looks like for the next 3 years coming up. So that triennial timeline, we'll collect feedback on all the documents so previously to 2023, 2024, and 2026. The work that you're going to see today is the culmination of those 3 years of updates and feedback being incorporated. And then our next timeline for update and feedback and update we'll be collecting feedback for the next 3 years, 2026, 2027, and 2028. The cycle that just ended will be implemented in 2026. So all the documents you'll see today are the new documents for 2026. The remainder of 2025, we're still 5 documents. Fall of 2028, we will go through another round of reviews and updates, send them out to chapters, and then implementation for that second cycle would be for 2029. So to give you an overview of what we've been through and what the plan is again for these documents going forward. And then we're going to jump into the changes.
Yeah. I can walk through the roadmap before we jump into the changes first. So the what do you need to do and kind of what are the next steps before Michelle gets into the details of some of these updates, the red line, the clean version. This is the process for adoption. So what the chapters need to, what you as chapter leaders or you as chapter members need to do. And chapter leaders will be facilitating this process for your chapter. So you'll use the 2026 roadmap for governing documents that's posted on our website. It was also emailed out to all chapter presidents that were listed in VMS. And it lists all of the updated documents, both the red line version and the clean versions for each of the documents that Michelle's about to walk through here in just a little bit. You want to make sure that your chapter has access to the correct 2026 version. There was a chapter operating handbook red line that didn't have the red line. It got printed with all of the changes accepted. I've updated that, so we'll make sure that everybody has access to that, but it's updated on the website. And then if your chapter leadership is changing or has changed, please note that Michelle and Hannah and I are using the most accurate VMS email address list that we can possibly use, those that we can pull when we do send out those emails. But if you don't see, just please check with your incoming chapter leadership to make sure that they are also receiving this content. Michelle will talk about updating your VMS logs for chapter contacts at the very end of today's presentation. So here are the actual roadmap required actions. We did break them down into 5 easy steps. These are also just copied straight off of the website. So these are easily accessible on the website for you to use there. The first step for bylaws for the bylaws is to select your chapter's term length. Do you use 12 months or 24 months for your leadership cycle? And then select whether you are a 501c3 chapter, yes or no. Doing that on the form that's linked on the website will automatically generate a state-approved chapter bylaws template that you can then go through, write in your chapter's name, the adoption date, and move forward into step 2. Step 2 is that going through and reviewing and approving, adding in that chapter name, adding in that date on that document. We ask that you do this by January 1st. That is a quick timeline, but it's literally just filling out a form, getting that form, generating the bylaws document from that form, and then reviewing it internally with your chapter advisor. Then the next step after that is to send a written notification to your chapter membership at least 15 days in advance of a chapter membership meeting, including the date, the time, the location per the bylaws requirements for this membership meeting when a vote on those bylaws would be held. Step 4 is to actually hold that membership meeting. So there's a 15-day delay in between that email that goes out announcing the chapter membership meeting and the actual meeting itself. And you do need a 2/3 majority vote of members present with quorum to adopt the bylaws. And then once those bylaws have been adopted at your chapter membership meeting, we ask that at least 30 days post after that event, submitting the adoption notification form, again, easily linked on our website, that just lets us know that, hey, my chapter has completed this. Here's a copy of our meeting minutes as a record to show that we did adopt these. And we're giving you a pretty generous timeline with that, asking you to have all of those steps done by April 1st of 2026. A few more things about the other governing documents that you'll need to take into account as far as action items. The chapter management and operating protocols actually has no action items. These become effective January 1st, 2026, and all chapters must comply. There is no adoption needed, as I mentioned. And then the chapter operating handbook framework, that's provided to guide chapters in customizing your local procedures. We do have the red line and the clean version on our website now. Again, apologies about the red line version having a mislink earlier. But with that, if there are any edits that are substantive, there are brackets and italics that show where you can make changes. But if there are changes that are more substantive and greater in context, then we ask that you reach out to our state office to see if those are compliant with other governing documents. And then last but not least, some reminders and best practices for you as chapter leaders, chapter presidents. The 2026 updates does include that revised code of ethics and standards of conduct. Michelle's going to walk through those edits here in just a second. So please ensure that all of your chapter leaders and members confirm their understanding and compliance to these two updated documents. It is minor changes, but again, Michelle will walk through those here in just a second. We did try to make this as easy as possible with simple forms on our website. So make sure that you're using those forms. Don't email us because it'll get lost. Those forms help us to catalog and to timestamp all of that information. And again, they're just easy fillable forms on the website. And I know that we've already had at least a dozen chapters fill out the bylaws options form. So it is working. And then the last but not least, most important piece is to maintain clear communications, not only with us at the state office, but also with your current officers, your current chapter members, incoming leadership, and of course, your chapter advisor as well, as you're going through this adoption process. Okay, and then with that, Michelle, I'm going to kick it back over to you to give us the good
Actually,
stuff.
hang on just 1 second. So there's a question, and you covered it in the few previous slides you just had. So one of the questions is, do the documents need to be approved at the chapter board along with the president and advisor? Do you want to address that again? Which document?
So the bylaws document does need to be reviewed by the chapter president and the chapter advisor. That's in step 2 of the bylaws adoption process. That's reviewing to make sure that you have the right document. You understand where those changes are, the red line versus the clean version. You have you understand what the process is going forward into step 3 and step 4 of the bylaws adoption process. And then in step 4 is where your membership is actually voting on that bylaws adoption. So that's where those two different groups or audiences come into play for the bylaws. With the CMOP, there is no need for review and approval by your president or your advisors or your membership. Those become the standard for the program January 1st. Obviously, we want you to review them. We want you to become familiar with them. That's what Michelle's going to walk through here with some of those updates in just a second. The COH is a little bit different. The chapter operating handbook is locally developed. A lot of chapters will develop committees to go through and update their chapter operating handbook on an annual or a biannual basis with the state template that we've provided for you. So that one, Michelle will dive deeper into some of the updates on the COH and those things that you can do to add those in with your COH that you may be operating with now.
Thank you. And then we're going to jump into some of the edits. And I need, let me preface everything by saying I recognize there are going to be a lot of questions today that we probably won't be able to get to online. We have a lot of information to cover in a short amount of time. And I recognize there's probably going to be some nuances specific to your chapter or your passions with the document. And so that's probably items that we'll need to, if you have questions on that further, we'll need to cover offline. and you can connect with us by email if you need greater understanding of what the document means to you and maybe your chapter's passions at the local level. And then I already see a question in the chat asking
I'll
about
answer those two.
process.
I'll answer those two right now. Yep.
So that some of these processes are going to be covered in the documents as well. So just preface that before we jump in. So first items up are the Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct. These did not receive a huge amount of change. At a high level, some of the items were renumbered and reordered. The document, so the Code of Ethics, I'm talking about specifically now, the document went from 13 numbered items to 15. There's a new number 2, which includes abide by federal, state sponsoring agencies and local laws during program involvement. Pretty standard and straightforward there. And is an item that's just wasn't previously written, but is written now. And then there's another new item, number 15, have a commitment to safety at all times. Again, kind of standard, unwritten standard operating procedure before, but now it is written as part of our Code of Ethics and Code of Ethics. Items 8, 11, and 12 received added words for clarification, and you can see those red words listed there in the screenshot example below. Aside from that, there's really no other changes to the Code of Ethics documents. Again, I do want to, when you get into the document and you see the red line, you will see that items have been moved around, but majority of the items have not changed in what they say and what they mean. Now I'm going to move to the Standards of Conduct update. This is another one-page document. At a high level, the document moved from 14 numbered items to 17 numbered items, and some of the items were reordered. To give you an idea of what that reorder looks like, the old number 10 was split out into 3 items, thus the increase for additional numbered items. Within that, now there is a new numbers. Those were broken out into new numbers being 6, 12, and 13. The old number 6 is now number 8, and language updated language was updated to report through VMS. So that number 8, keep accurate records of volunteer service, training, research, and impacts, and a monthly, at a minimum, report these records in the program's volunteer management system. So that item was updated to tell you where those items are reported. Giving you a little overview of the new number 5. Again, this note is reiterated in this document as well. You saw it previously in the Code of Ethics updates. It's reiterated in the Code of Standards of Conduct update as well. Abide by federal, state, and sponsoring agencies and local laws while involved with in representing the Texas Master Naturalist program, and recognize that some violations outside of your TMN program activity could be grounds for dismissal. Some clarifying words were added to existing items in the new document. See the new number 12 and number 15, and screenshots of those clarifying words are listed below for that 12 and 15. Okay, move on to the next big area is chapter bylaws, or the document I'm going to go over now. At a high level, the updates do not change the way we've been operating. More so, they provide written information on previously unwritten policy. Mostly clarification, the document includes mostly clarification, edits, and allowances to bring current how we've been operating. As I mentioned, those things are now documented through this document. Single word, and again at a high level, single word or phrase additions for clarification are sprinkled throughout the document. Some of the bigger edits, giving you a whole overview of where the bigger edits exist in this document, and then I'll dive into specifics of where those, and show you where those edits are. So Article 5, with membership categories, it now references and aligns with the CMOP and VMS admin guide protocols. Article 5, officers and other board members and elections. Here we clarified how to replace advisors after a vacancy and how the advisor votes count when there are multiple advisors present from one agency. And then a new item allowing for and defining alternating elections of officers, so not all officers are turning over at the same time. Article 6, the Board of Directors and Executive Committee. The new area there is we address specifically MOAs, MOUs, and contracts. And then general actions and notices in that same section changed from 1 day to 1 business days in most cases. Article 9, where we talk about financial controls and signature authority, we address questions of multiple signatures needed for checks over $1,000. And again, remember, I'm going to show you the documents in the next few slides. And then Article 10, adoption and amendment of bylaws. This is an area where there were several updates to reflect past and current operating procedure for adoption and amendment of bylaws. All right, now let's take a look at what some of those changes look like. I mentioned Article 4, membership, some of the bigger items here, and I'm going to go through what we classify as the bigger changes. I'm not places where we edited a word or edited a link, updated a link in this document to the website. I'm not going to go over those changes. So those are just part of the process. I will cover the more in-depth detailed changes, what we classify as the bigger changes in the bylaws. So Article 4, membership. This is an area where we updated the information here and reference to align with and reference the CMOP and the VMS language in the VMS admin guide. Before, the 2 documents did not, or the 3 documents did not talk to each other or talk across each other. And now they speak all the same language. All 3 documents speak to each other and speak the same language. And you can see the red line document there. Moving on to Article 5, officers and other board members, specifically advisors and elections. Here we clarified how to replace advisors after a vacancy. And we also clarified how the advisor votes count when there are multiple present representing one agency. And then another item in this area, a new item that we added allows for and defines alternating elections for officers. So not all officers are turning over at the same time. And this is something chapters can choose to do instead of having all of your officers. This would apply mostly to chapters that have 2-year terms. And so you don't have to have all of your officers changing over or being moving off of the board all at the same time. You can, in 1 year, you can elect a certain set number of the 2-year term officers, and then the following year you can vote in, select another certain amount of officers, so that not everybody is rotating off all at the same time in the same year.
I'm giving Michelle just a quick break to take a breath. We are going fast intentionally. We have quite a bit here. All of the slides will be posted on the website. The recording will be posted on the website. All the screenshots that you see on these slides are from the red line version of the documents as well. So we're trying to over information you right now, but there are a lot of resources that you'll get with all of the recordings, the links, the slides.
So, and just Susan, back on the alternating officers, it is an allowance. So chapters don't have to, we're not requiring chapters to use the alternating officers election. More so, the document is giving them the opportunity to do that should they elect to. Whereas before it did not. So Article 5, another update, one of the bigger updates, Article 5, Board of Directors. an executive committee, which talks about authority for MOAs, MOUs, and contracts. First and foremost, in this section, we defined board as the board of directors. And then number 2 for the authority, and when we talk about MOUs, MOAs, and contracts, we added verbiage here to ensure that the chapter is working with their advisors on any MOUs, MOAs, and contracts, and that they are reviewing them and approving of them also. And then in some cases, we're also noting that in some cases, an external professional review or guidance may be needed, that your internal advisors and leadership and even our state office may not have the expertise, and that providing guidance, that external review may be needed in some cases. Okay, next area where we have some bigger updates is general actions and authority. I have this in the bigger updates. I would actually classify it as one of the smaller updates. It's almost a nuance. We changed some items here from saying just 1 day to being 1 business day. And that was at the request, all of these changes were at the request and submittal of our chapters. And so a couple of chapters said, sometimes these things happen on a weekend, and it's hard to provide notification just within 1 day. So we updated that to 1 business day. Oh, sorry, can you go back? I'm not sure I covered everything in that slide. Okay, yes, so business day, sorry, everything there. And then Article 6 with Executive Committee, another area of update. Again, we had 1 business day. And then we talked about, whoops, maybe this slide didn't get updated for me. I didn't get this updated. We talk about chapter advisors, that the Executive Committee shall include the Executive Committee shall include the officers and the chapter advisors. So clarifying who is part of the Executive Committee. And then again, authority, change that from just 1 day to 1 business day. Okay, smaller area of edit, Article 7, meetings, and specifically talking about board action without a meeting. Again, we changed this to, instead of 1 day, back to, or moved it to 1 business day. Okay, moving on to Article 9, financial controls, signature authority. This addressed questions from multiple signatures needed for checks greater than $1,000 or $1,000 and greater. And we updated this to say any unbudgeted payment of $1,000 or greater, the president must provide written authorization in advance and filed with the chapter, and or the payment instrument must be co-signed by the president or other designated officer. So one of the take-home bullet points here is that chapters need to have annual budgets drafted. I mean, this is an action within your COH. It is part of the treasurer's duty, part of the board's duty. So that's already, having a budget is already outlined. But these expenditures, the large expenditures, absolutely need to be part of your budget. Okay, and then on bylaws, kind of the last big area of updates for the bylaws is Article 10, adoption and amendment of bylaws. This looks like a lot. It is a write-up of how we have been and currently operating for the amendment and adoption of bylaws. So the process that Mary Pearl went over with you at the beginning of the presentation, this clarifies that it's written in the bylaws now too. So All right, let me take a drink and then I can go on to chapter management and operations protocols, lovingly referred to as our CMOP.
Yeah, while she's doing that, again, there's some high level and some bigger edits that she's going to cover. And I'll let you go back to it.
Okay, so high level, looking at the chapter management operations protocols, updates, and CMOP. The updates do not change the way we've been operating overall. They're mostly clarification edits and program policies documented where they were not in program-wide available documentation before. There are single word and phrase additions for clarification and conciseness sprinkled throughout the document. The links have been updated throughout the document. The document clarifies approval needed for use of trademark Texas Master Naturalist logos and titles in various areas. And then throughout, the document provides further guidance on working with your advisors, your chapter advisors, for additional review and consultation. So as you can see, advisors are a big role and important leadership in all of our chapter operations as well. So bigger edits. Go back, please. Thank you. Bigger edits, to give you a high level overview of those big edit areas. It's probably comes as no surprise that the bigger edits are in the areas of what we call the pillars of the program: training, advanced training, and service. So section 2, the specific sections that received updates were section 2, structure of the program, specifically chapter territory; section 3, membership; section 4, training and certifying volunteers; section 5, advanced training requirements; section 6, volunteer service; and section 7, our chapter donations. And then I'm going to go over some details in the next few set of slides. Okay, in the CMOP, section 2 is what I would classify as a smaller edit, where it talks about 2.1 affiliations and chapter advisors. We have a written statement. We included a written statement of a previous verbal rule that chapters are required to have at least one chapter advisor from one of the sponsoring agencies. And you can see that noted below. Specifically, chapters are required to have at least one advisor from one of the sponsoring agencies. Next one. A bigger edit talks about the structure of the program in section 2. The specific area is chapter territory and annexation. These are items that were, this is another example of an item that was a verbal operation, but now it's written down in the CMOP. So chapter territory, each TMN chapter has a defined geographic boundary as established during their new chapter establishment process and approved in their chapter charter. So a roadmap, this is an area where there was information in a different document where this was established, and now the addition of this pulls that information into CMOP as well for our operations. And then the second addition in this area is annexation. So over the course of a chapter's growth and further development, they decide to pull in or cover more territory, pull in another county within their chapter's area. And we had a verbal policy for annexation, and that's now written and provided through the CMOP. And I know Susan, you asked about how to de-annex. I wasn't prepared to cover that in this slide, but that's something you can visit with us about a certain situation. So another update for bigger areas. So the membership section, section 3 specifically, membership information presented in the CMOP now mirrors the VMS admin guide, so that both documents, actually bylaws, VMS admin guide, all those documents speak the same language across the 3 documents now, 3 major documents of the program. This section looks like it's heavy edits, so I'm pre-warning you here. This section looks like it has heavy edits, but most of the existing information was put into bullet format. So where it was in paragraph form before, now it's in bullet form. It's a little bit easier to digest and break down. The goal and request here from our chapters was to incorporate the VMS admin guide titles and language so that member categories and the bylaws are matched up with the VMS tags also. What does that look like? Next slide shows, I told you, I warned you, pre-warned you, it looks messy, but as I mentioned, a lot of this information already existed in the CMOP. Now it's just in bullet format for the most part. Okay. More CMOP updates in the section 4 training and certifying members. This section clarifies this 4.1.3 training setup, clarifies our position on entirely virtual initial training classes. Training setup, the Master Naturalist program encourages in-person classroom and field-based initial training courses to both engage students in hands-on training and to build chapter and class camaraderie. However, understanding the new virtual tools are available for engaging in presenters and audiences, chapters may consider the potential use of virtual initial training classes for a modest selection of their classes. Again, this is an item that was kind of a verbal, unwritten rule that is now written in the CMOP. And then the other area in this section that was updated or clarified rather, course completion, section 4.3 or item point 4.3. Previous, this led, what was there previously led the reader to believe members had to wait until their training was complete before they could accumulate volunteer service and advanced training. And that was not the case. So we've updated the information there to read basically what it says is that volunteer service and advanced training can, for the member in training, it can be started as soon as they begin attending initial training classes. Section 4, where we talk about annual recertification pin. We added a special item or special note on hours item here, and you can see that at the bottom, towards the bottom. So we moved some information from 4.4.2.2 annual recertification pin down into a new item where we talk about special notes on hours. So volunteer hours and advanced training hours may not be carried over or carried forward from one year to the next. And volunteer service hours, AT hours, and initial training hours over the required minimum may not be used as substitutions for any other category of hours. Okay. Moving on to the advanced training requirements in section 5, one of the bigger edits. Additional advanced training examples. Actually, I don't know why I put this as a bigger edit. It's really a smaller edit. We just added additional advanced training examples to the chart that was there, and some policies and operations were clarified. In section 6, some of the bigger edits, I guess, we're classifying that as volunteer service requirements in section 6. Previously, only a portion of the mission was our Master Naturalist program mission was mentioned in that section. Now the full mission statement is restated in this section. Some edits and additional volunteer service examples in the chart have been added, and then policies and operations clarified. So that kind of gives you a little overview update of what exists for those two sections. Okay. And then moving on to section 7, one of the bigger edits, chapter donations, section 7. We updated donation guidelines slightly. Really, we just added 2 bullets. Those being your chapter should first consider your own status as being eligible and applicable to provide donations. And then the one on the bottom, donations towards political campaigns and issues are strictly prohibited and must be denied. So just some additional guidance regarding donations. All right, that covers everything above the line. What we're going to be moving into next is what's on that website, what's on our website kind of below that line, the additional operating resources. And I'm going to just give you a quick overview where we've updated the brand guide, and Hannah's going to go over all the details in that for us. Some items coming up as our community science volunteer log guide. We've had some updates that has been reviewed. The final update is pending. And then we updated the governing documents feedback form, which Mary Pearl covered that process at the beginning. And then the rest of the items listed there, those reviews and updates are pending. Okay, Hannah, take it away.
Okay, I'm gonna take over sharing the screen. We all back. And while I'm getting set up, this is structured in a very similar way where it's a quick overview of some of the updates that we have for the brand guide. And obviously the brand guide will be posted onto the website. I haven't put the updated one on there just yet, so give me a little bit to get that one up there in both of the locations. But this is going to be, I'm going to try to go a little bit quick because I know we're getting a little close to time, but this is just a somewhat quick overview of some of the updates that we have for the brand guide. But before we get started on that, we're going to play a little, I'll make it quick, but a little quick game. If you've ever done a marketing or communication seminar or class, you've probably played this game where you guess the company based on either the colors or the icons. And I feel like it's a really great way to show the importance of branding for an organization. So in the chat, put what you think this company is. I'll give a few seconds for answers to come in. There's a lot of Coca-Cola, Netflix, Nike, Target, Coca-Cola, YouTube. A lot of good guesses, a lot of good guesses. The answer, let's see if I can get this side to work. The answer is our friends over at HEB. I don't know if I saw anyone say HEB. Someone might have said it and I might have missed it. But these are our friends over at HEB. Those are their colors. But obviously, these are also the colors of a lot of other companies. But you saw the colors, you thought of a brand. That's kind of what we're talking about here. Here's the next one. And your guesses. Pretty easy. Somewhat easy. I mean, Texas State has maroon. Mississippi State, I think, also has maroon. A lot of options. Answer, of course, is Texas A&M AgriLife Extension. Now, if you see those other colors at the bottom, those are what we call secondary colors. We're going to cover those a little bit later in this presentation, but obviously the main color for AgriLife and A&M is that maroon. Here's the next one. A little bit trickier, perhaps. Answers aren't coming in quite as quick. AT&T, Kroger, Sea Grant, Ukraine with yellow added, Walmart. Okay, the answer, my friends over at Texan by Nature. Kind of seeing a theme on who I'm picking. And the final one for colors. Any guesses? Mary Pearl looks like she knows it. Oh, I'm seeing some correct answers. Parks and Wildlife. Very iconic colors. A lot of y'all got that one. Now, obviously colors are a way to pick a brand, but also you can pick a brand pretty easily out of a lineup from their icon. And so we're going to do a couple of guesses for those as well. This first one should be very easy. What do you think this one is? No one got it wrong. All Nike. I didn't even put the answer because I knew everyone would get it. Now here, this one might be a little bit harder. Any guesses on what this one is? Back on. Got it. A lot of y'all got it. Bat Conservation International, one of our very good friends and sponsors of the annual meeting typically. All right, here's the next one. Perhaps a little bit harder, but maybe not. Okay, Texas Beautiful. Association. A couple y'all got it. It's Keep Texas Beautiful. Another one of our friends that likes to sponsor that annual meeting. And a final one, I think most of y'all will get this one too, but maybe you'll prove me wrong, we'll see. Yes, INAT, Texas Our Future, Texas Nature Trackers, Tree Folk. Good guesses, but we did have someone get it. Our Texas Our Future. Once again, our friends over at HEB, that was a little bit of a trick one because they have some separate branding going on. But that was just a, quick way and hopefully a bit of a fun way to highlight the importance of a brand. I'm gonna to intentionally take a little bit of time on this because I want to reinforce why we are such sticklers for our branding and our trademark. And it's because of those reasons right there. You see that icon or you see those colors and you think of a brand. Sometimes you think of the correct brand. Sometimes brands have, matching colors in a way, but you think of something. And so why proper branding is so important is it helps build that instant recognition. When people see our TM in green, they think of us. When people see our iconic dragonfly, they think of us. So when we use it consistently and constantly and in the correct way, we build that brand recognition. And it also helps foster trust and loyalty. If you, love a company, say you love HEB, you might drive out of your way to go shop at HEB because they have built that trust and loyalty with you. And so when you see that sign, or think of Buc-ee's, you see it says it's in 5,000 miles. You'll hold it for 5,000 miles because you trust that brand and they've built that loyalty. So that's kind of another reason why you really want to emphasize using your branding properly and consistently, is because it helps people maybe hang on a little bit longer because they want to shop with you or be with you. Again, it makes your marketing more effective. All these same things, if they recognize your brand, they're more likely to engage with it and participate with it. Same thing with those long-term interactions. Maybe someone, in the community keeps seeing the TMN logo pop up, eventually decides to go to an event, and then that might turn them into a master naturalist one day. And because of all of these things, it helps support that scalability. Because, people see that brand out in the wild, engage with it online, engage with it at chapter events or state events, and they build that camaraderie and that connection with it. And maybe the one day that pulls them into the program themselves. And when you don't have a consistent brand or consistent brand identity, or you don't use it properly, then it can help build that confusion and misidentity. Where, think of Cracker Barrel. People were saying that they had their own misidentity for themselves because they changed their branding too drastically. The branding of a company is very important for maintaining all of those things, that loyalty, that recognition, that effective marketing. And so a couple of ways why it's specifically important for our program. Of course, it builds that positive impression of the program, but I think the most important one that I have on this list is that connects all chapters with the state office and the mission. Because if you think about it, we're in a very unique position. Because yes, we are one program, one entity, but we have a diverse group of chapters. They all serve different people. They serve in different ecoregions, but we're all the Texas Master Naturalist program and chapters of the Texas Master Naturalist program. So making sure that we maintain that cohesive and consistent brand identity across all of our chapters and across the state helps really emphasize that impact that we have at the state level, but also at your local chapter level, and the connection that we have between the two. Move my little mouse. So real quick before we get into it, where the brand guide will be, it is on that same chapter documents page, but it also has its own little page. If you go to the 4 chapters tab, hover over it, it'll say brand and marketing. Click that, it's the first thing you see. Again, I haven't put the updated one up on there yet. I'm doing a final check to make sure all my links are correct because I did some page rearranging recently. So I'm doing a final look through to make sure links won't take you to the wrong place. But that's where it will be later this week. And this is why I'm saying we're doing a quick overview. This is the table of contents for the brand guide. And I know it looks like a lot. It kind of is a lot. However, this is a clickable table of contents. So when you click on a name, it'll take you right to that page that you're wanting. So we're trying to make it as easy for you to navigate as possible and, you know, have very clear headers on what you can find on each page so that when you have a very specific question, it should hopefully be pretty easy for you to find where you need to go to get that answer. And of course, this is covered in the brand guide and we talk about it a lot as well. But another reason why we really like to emphasize using our logo, using our name, and using it properly is because they are both trademarks of the program. And because of that, they can't be copied or imitated incorrectly and without the state office's permission. And it's also prohibited to use them for sale or personal profit. And there's another list of, like, you know, you can't use it for advocacy, again, personal profit, things like that. We have those lists. It's in the brand guide. It's also in some of our other documents. We talk about that quite a lot. And then just a reminder that it consists of, our trademark is both our logo and our name, Texas Master Naturalist. And in this brand guide, we also talk a lot about proper usage of the name, like abbreviations, using it in a sentence, things like that. And again, if you're ever kind of like, they're such sticklers for using all this properly. Well, if we don't protect our trademark, you can actually lose a trademark. It's called abandonment. It's a lot of things that go into it, but basically we have to protect our trademark by making sure it's used properly and correctly. Otherwise, it could be something that we could lose in the future. So that's why we're such sticklers for it. That, and of course, the brand identity is very important for marketability, loyalty, and trust, and all the things we talked about earlier. Now to kind of get into the meat of it a little more, we have a page kind of talking about the trademark and the logo. And one of the things I wanted to highlight on this page mainly is that, and we've been doing this the past few months, but one of those things, you know, we've been doing it, but now it's in writing, kind of like how we had some of those other documents. But all merchandise and long-term marketing materials, so think banners, yard signs, tablecloths, brochures, anything that has longevity with your chapter must be sent to the TMN State Program Office for approval prior to production. And by that we mean me. So you can find my email either on our website or in the brand guide and send that to me and I can get that approved for you. Short-term marketing materials, and those would be things like event flyers. Those do not need to be approved by us at the state level, but they do need to be approved by your chapter president or communications director. Again, they know all the rules and regulations for our trademark, and so just making sure that everything's followed for that. If I sound a little stuffy, I woke up with a stuffy nose, so apologies, guys. This is just a quick slide, one of our pages. Obviously, we have our 2 sponsoring agencies. On print materials, you need to be using those, and this is just making sure you have the proper logos for them and that you use them in the correct way. Like, for example, Parks and Wildlife doesn't have a white version of their logo, so don't go creating one and adding it to something just because you think it looks better, because that's breaking their brand guidelines. So things like that, making sure we're adhering to what the agencies want for their logo usage. And this is something that hasn't changed, but has been added to. Chapters have never been permitted to have a chapter logo, but you have been permitted to have a chapter mark. In the previous brand guide, we only showed one example. This one, we officially have 3 different versions that you can choose from. And if you don't want to make one yourself, then we actually have all of them housed here at the state office. And so you can use that request a chapter mark here link. It'll take you to a form, and then I can send you whichever version you want in different file types, so you don't have to make one for yourself as a chapter. If you already have one that fits all of the proper guidelines here, then you obviously don't need to go through this. But if you have one that is not one of the 3 approved options, then use that form to contact me and pick your option and then get one of those. This page just shows, again, kind of emphasizing that this is a trademark. These 3 chapter marks are the correct way to use it. Don't alter it in any other ways because, again, it's a trademark. So we have a couple of pages that just show a lot of examples of what you can do and what you can't do. And this is one of those saying, hey, don't do this, things like that. Another example of like correct and incorrect usage of the logo, and this one in connection with art or icons, and just making sure that your approved chapter mark or the TMN logo is on those items. Again, I'm going to try to go a little bit quickly because I see we're running out of time. So when you can sit down with the brand guide, you can read all the details on these, and also the slides from this will be available. We have our anniversary marks for chapters to use. And again, you just need to request that, and you can add your chapter name, but you must get the state office approval for that. Chapters are also permitted to make their own chapter event mark for their anniversary, but again, they must get that approval from the state office. Sorry guys, I think a delivery guy's here and my dog is freaking out. We also, just a reminder, some of y'all know this, some of y'all might not, have a page on our website for state-developed templates and resources, rack cards, brochures, even like social media profile photos, Facebook cover photos, PowerPoint templates, things of that nature. They're all Canva templates. And the password changes annually, so incoming presidents will get an updated password from me sometime in January in the new year, and then they can share that with their communication directors and anyone who they feel like needs access to those. And those are essentially pre-approved documents, provided that you don't make substantial changes. But that's just a resource for y'all. It has some QR codes and things, license plates, posts, different resources for y'all to use. Again, trying to make it a little easier for y'all to use proper branding. And on the topic of branding, we do still have our state program drawings. However, we are really emphasizing the fact that these are just artistic icons and they are not to be used as a brand element. So think in a rack card or in a brochure, then you want some little drawings and artistic elements scattered throughout. That's where you could use these. I know some chapters even use them to divide their training classes into different groups. And so they'll put them on their little paper trainee name tags to make different groups within their training class. That's an appropriate use of them. But to use them as a chapter logo or to represent your chapter, or as say you have a flyer for a training and one of these is the only thing showing up on it and not your chapter mark and not the TMN logo, that's not approved. So artistic elements, not brand elements. And we have that in red and bold. And this update's very exciting. We talked about the secondary colors earlier. We of course are keeping our TMN green, keeping our TMN brown. Obviously we use the white all the time, but we've now added some secondary colors. You'll notice probably that those are pulled a lot from the dragonfly icon. I know we've had a couple of requests for that come in quite a bit, and then just some other complementary colors for that. But one thing to keep in mind with these secondary colors is they are secondary. So think of them as like accent colors. The TMN green is the main thing, but you throw in a little pop of yellow or throw in one of the blues. It's not going to be the main color for the brand, but it's a secondary element. If you use one of our Facebook cover photo templates, then you'll notice these as part of some of the pictures. Just a way to add a little extra color to something. And then another thing we have is our brand fonts. We of course have always had the Calzone Open Face Regular and the Open Sans as our brand fonts. And as a reminder, those are the only ones that are permitted to be used with chapter marks and with the logo, because those are part of those. But we also added something that we're calling professional material fonts. So if you've been, paying attention in this presentation or have been watching our socials a lot, you might have noticed that it's a lot of the same fonts. That's because we're using those professional material fonts to be consistent and cohesive across our platforms. And I knew I would be low on time, so those are kind of the big highlights, and this is just more that's featured in the brand guide. We talk about chapter websites, about social media, photo release forms, and photographing minors. You also might have noticed we added one of those, or a form for that, to the chapter documents page. And I know some of you might grumble about this one, but acceptable ways to use AI as a chapter. The fact of the matter is people use it, and so we'd rather have guidelines on how to properly use it as a chapter than just pretend nobody uses it and not say anything. So I know for those who don't like AI, you're probably upset about that, but we'd rather have guidelines than have none. For example, no using personal TMN information to try and extract data, don't put any personal information on AI, things like that. Guidelines like that for using it as a chapter, if a chapter or an individual chooses to do so. And then, of course, working with the media. I think, yes, that was my last slide. But I know we have more slides in the other deck, so we'll go back to that.
Yeah, Hannah, and know that you're probably not going to get a chance to answer all the questions in the chat. There are some specific to your work in the brand guide, so we can follow up with those individuals after the event, since we are running out of time. We have just a few slides to wrap up kind of 2026 with our normal information, reminders, and updates. And this being our crossover event for December, including our chapter advisors and presidents and leaderships in this meeting. So Hannah, you want to cover this one?
Yes. So obviously we have these recordings that we've been putting on the website. They're also on our playlist over on YouTube. And since we're in the transitional month between 2026, you might have noticed that 2026 dates are live and already up on that page, and 2025 finishing. You will find this at the bottom of the page very shortly. So I put you can see all the little brown buttons there. There will soon be one for 2025. If you click that, it'll take you to that calendar that will be moved to the bottom of the page. And then from there, you can click on the month that you want, and that'll take you to the YouTube video. And any resources for each month, like our PDFs of our presentations and from all previous ones as well, will be available in the description of those YouTube videos. So that's where you can go back and find those resources. And so for this December one, I don't think it'll live, where they normally live very long, because again, I'm transitioning for 2026. So look for those resources from today in the description of the YouTube video once that's live. And that'll be live later today or tomorrow, depending on how quickly I can do things. Yeah, this is just a reminder that the 2026 dates are live. So go ahead and mark your calendars. To note is that the September date is not a second Tuesday, and that the October date is another to be announced, because we plan to do another live at the annual meeting. But go ahead and mark your calendars for those. And also keep in mind, April and September, while they are already listed in there, April will be our virtual volunteer fair again. September, of course, is our project fair. And so those times will change once we have those entries in. But we went ahead and made them so you can go ahead and register. But they count as 1 hour of advanced training. You can watch the recordings. Oh, and just a reminder that for 2025 TMN Tuesdays, only count as advanced training in 2025. So once we're in 2026, you can't watch them to get advanced training in 2026. And then the 2026 ones, you can watch in 2026 and get advanced training. So they go by year, just a reminder for that as well. And let us know what topics you want to see. And for training class info, we of course have this page on our website. I'm a little bit behind on updating it, so I'm gonna get on that today. But if you have a training class in 2026, go ahead and fill out the form on the bottom of that page and we'll get that added.
All right, and then just a couple of final program announcements as we get ready for the transition into the new calendar year. We also have some transitions happening with our student workers. Hannah Thornton, who has been our program coordinator for our HEB Pollinators for Texas program, is graduating with her master's degree from Texas A&M here in the next week or so. So we're so proud and excited for her. Christian Lopez is graduating with his undergraduate degree from Texas A&M in the Rangeland Wildlife and Fisheries Management Department. And moving directly into his master's program. He'll continue to work for us and is taking over the role as Pollinators for Texas program coordinator as a replacement for Hannah. And so we're so excited to see their new journeys, both as they transition and graduate into their respective futures.
Okay, our end of the year. So leaders within your chapters, just be thinking of your end of the year succession planning. Elections and everything may have already happened at your chapter level or are happening now with the remainder of the month here. And just a reminder that your leadership sets the tone and pace for your year. So think about holding a chapter leadership retreat at your board level. I've heard many chapters already planning those for some happening in December already, and then the early new year. So thank you for your leadership over the past year, and we look forward to all of the new advisors or chapter leaders that are coming into your chapter for the new year. Looking forward to working with you. And then a reminder, at the end of the month, don't forget to update your chapter leadership within VMS. So from VMS is where we pull all of the president, secretary, treasurer, all of the groups of people and information, and it's where we pull the information from and develop our groups, email groups for the new year in communicating with the different officers and leaders on specific topics. The following slide shows where that will take place within VMS. So end of December actions, update your leadership, your chapter leadership list, update to new and changing officers, move all historical titles and leadership or service to the history box. And just a note that your VMS administrator at a local chapter level will need to help with completing this action. And then for our chapter presidents and advisors on the line today, again, this was a crossover event today, a TMN Tuesday, plus a chapter presidents and advisors monthly meeting. We hold those meetings. We do hold monthly meetings for chapter presidents and advisors. It's typically that last Tuesday of the month. The first one for 2026 will be held January 27th. Other dates will be sent to incoming presidents in the new year. And just a reminder, we will be using that update. We will be pulling that information from VMS. So the sooner you can get it updated at the end of this month, the sooner we can begin communicating with the correct people in your chapter in the new year. We'll send a monthly reminder about those and then a schedule in the new year too. Looking ahead to 2026, we have some chapter anniversaries and even beyond. We have some chapter anniversaries, some chapters celebrating some big anniversaries in the upcoming 2 years. So we have a list of chapters celebrating a 15th, 20th, and 25th anniversary in 2026. And then looking ahead to 2027, we have 8 chapters celebrating anniversaries in 2027. So the point of this slide is we would love for you to celebrate early and often the accomplishments of your chapters. So chapters, be thinking about what you might want to do to celebrate your accomplishments in these anniversaries in the new year. And then if you weren't part of our Master Naturalist annual meeting in October, And I don't remember when we last mentioned it. Go back. Our 2026 recertification pin is the Bobcat. It will be available for order by chapter leadership mid-February, and you'll get to meet the Bobcat at our February TMN Tuesday. You get to meet
I didn't
and
mean to
learn
jump
more.
so quick. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's only a few more slides. I know we're over time, so thank y'all for your patience. Two updates that I am trying to share with chapter leadership at each of our chapter presidents meetings, that are chapter presidents and advisors meetings on a monthly basis. And since this is a crossover, as Michelle mentioned, everybody gets to hear these updates. So our TMN endowment, our account currently sits at about $213,000, and that is a rolling a balance that all revenue generated by that investment account will continue to roll into the endowment. Our goal is in the millions, and we'll get there. There are plenty of ways that you can give to the Texas Master Naturalist Endowment. We had a big campaign for Giving Tuesday, or any of your end of the year giving that you may be working towards within your own personal household. There's also individual gifts, memorial and honorary gifts, chapter gifts, and thank you so much to those chapters who participated in the chapter challenge that was issued by the Heartwood chapter this year. We had a great response to that chapter challenge this year. There's also employer gift matching and estate planning. If you have any questions about the endowment, I'd be your contact person for that, and happy to answer any questions or connect you directly with our development director at the Texas A&M Foundation to answer your specific questions for your ways of giving that you're interested in. Our Texas Master Naturalist license plate, we have, as again, I'm generating these reports on a 3-month quarterly basis. Our Q4 for 2025 showed us that we had 891 total new plates sold since July 2021. So that doesn't include reissues or renewals. So I have a personalized plate and I have multiple renewals on it over the last 4 years, but 891 individually new plates that are out there on the streets of Texas, promoting the Texas Master Naturalist program. Again, a great way to support the program. $22 of every $30 plate comes back to the program and will be continued to be reinvested into our programs. I haven't gotten a chance to update this slide, but we do have a thank you slide that I'll update in January with the final list of all 2025 donors to the Texas Master Naturalist Endowment. And so while this is not a complete list, we do want to say thank you to those who have participated in giving to the Master Naturalist Endowment. And then one final slide, I think this is it. Hannah, if you'll close us out here.
Thank you to everyone who answered the survey for the season of thanks. I hope y'all have been enjoying seeing them pop up on socials. We also have a blog post that just went live, kind of summarizing a lot of those. But just thank you again for submitting your stories and sharing your passion and love for the TMN program. This is one of my favorite things to do because it just gets to highlight y'all and highlight the really cool things about the program as a whole. So thank you for that. And keep an eye on socials because we have more coming through the end of December. And you can also check them out on that blog post.
I think that's a great way to wrap
questions in
up
the chat. Go on.
So just saying thank you to everybody who's participated in the Master Naturalist program through 2025. This is our last big interaction with y'all with today's TMN Tuesday webinar. And so really appreciate everything that you've done as Master Naturalist volunteers in this calendar year. Looking forward to a happy new year for 2026 and seeing all the things that you're going to do next year with us.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your year.
And we will see you for our first TMN Tuesday on January 12th for our State of the Program. All right. Thanks, y'all. I'm going to stop the recording and I'll get these questions saved and sent to y'all.